Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Hoping you're joining us from all parts of the world. Welcome to the 6th edition of the Young Aurora Award. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Faith Abiadun, and I serve as Executive Director to UWC International. It is my great honor and pleasure to accompany you through today's program as your moderator. Now, Young Aurora is a reminder of the importance of positive action and the small steps that we can all take to find solutions to some of the world's most pressing challenges. Let me start with a special welcome to the driving force behind the Young Aurora Award, Veronica Zonabend, alongside the founders of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. And also a very warm welcome to the members of the final selection jury who would decide on the winners of today's award. We've got Anna Afeyan, who's co-founder of the Nuba and Anna Afeyan Foundation. We've got Diego Angemi, who is Chief of Social Policy at UNICEF. We've got Prince Bashangezi, who's a graduate of Waterford Kamhlaba UWC of Southern Africa, as well as 2021 Young Aurora winner. We've got Mirza Dinaye, who's 2019 Aurora Prize laureate and co-founder of Airbridge in Iraq. And we've got Ernesto Zedillo, who's a Aurora Prize Selection Committee member, as well as director of the Center for the Study of Globalization, TL. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the two other organizations that work with us annually on this event, African Leadership Academy, as well as Teach for All. Before we start, a few bits of housekeeping. Please remember to use the chat to add your comments and questions if you want to. We'd also call on you, the audience on Facebook, to participate proactively and leave your questions or wishes in the comment section. Please be very, very active today. We look forward to your full participation. During the coming hour, you can expect we're going to have the presentations of the three finalist teams of this year's Young Aurora Award. And as the jury takes the time to deliberate on this year's winners, we would listen and participate in an engaging panel discussion with four fabulous thinkers who will be introduced shortly later on. And towards the end, the jury will then rejoin us and they would announce this year's winners of the Young Aurora Award. So if you're ready, I'm ready. For now, sit back and watch this short introductory video explaining what Young Aurora is all about.
Engage, educate, empower.
Thank you for supporting us in making our ideas and passion a reality.
And thank you so much to the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative to give us this opportunity to be change makers in real life in our communities.
Thank you for inspiring us to become humanitarians.
Thank you for making us humanitarians.
Thank you for inspiring us to become humanitarians.
Thank you, Young Aurora, for making all of that happen.
Brilliant. It is now my pleasure to hand over to Veronica Zonabend for some welcoming remarks. Veronica.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everybody. And it's a pleasure to see all of you, and it is a great honor to be at this event and to say a few words. It's the 6th year when we have this Young Aurora, and it's a pleasure and honor to encourage and to empower young people to become true humanitarians. and also to believe that they are architects of their own lives and also of the future, where we're all going to live. Young Aurora was launched in 2017 to encourage, support, and showcase student-driven projects that address concrete humanitarian issues with innovative and sustainable solutions. It was wonderful to see in the 6th year how strong this mission is being carried forward by the students presenting their projects and the many audience members from across the world who came out to support them. From leading thinkers in the world of education and social entrepreneurship to the classmates and teachers of the presented teams. We all saw the video why Young Aurora is important. One of the purposes of the project is to encourage young people and to create a new role model for the young generation, and it reminds us of the importance of acting to alleviate humanitarian concerns, which is even more important in our days than before. As part of all Aurora activities, Young Aurora gives the next generation, today's youth, the opportunity to show how they're acting towards a better world. And later today, we will hear from the finalists much more about it. I want to also use this opportunity to thank several people who stand behind this project. First of all, thanks to Aurora founders, without whom this event won't be possible. I want to thank the pre-selection jury members and the final jury members for all the time you dedicated, and your support helped to empower and support the next generation. And I want to thank all the teams who participated in the Young Aurora. Not only the students we'll see today from the 3 finalist teams, but also especially the students from the other teams who didn't make to the final, but who had an amazing project. And their job of pre-jury was very challenging because it's hard to choose the best from excellent projects. I really hope you will leave this event inspired by how much change we can each make in our local communities. And big things and big changes start from small changes, which each of us and all of us do in our own communities. Please welcome new Young Aurora family members, and let's enjoy teams' presentations together.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for your great words, and thank you for your resilience and for your vision in driving this forward over the years. We will now move forward to the presentations of this year's 3 finalists. This year we had 10 schools from UWC and African Leadership Academy participating. As Veronica mentioned, the pre-selection panel had the tough job of bringing this down to 3 finalists, and they have chosen projects from UWC Dilijan, from UWC East Africa, and UWC Southeast Asia to move through to the final round. And it is time for these 3 teams now to make their presentations. Before they do, each of the 3 teams will follow the exact same order. Firstly, we'll watch a short 3-minute video presentation of each of the projects. And secondly, the student teams will have 3 minutes to make their pitches, exactly 3 minutes. And thirdly, the jury members will be invited to ask each team 1 or 2 questions. So we're going to kick off with the very first project. This is from UWC Dilijan. It's called the Kombili Project. Now, UWC Dilijan is a project to address the issues caused by mountain levels of air pollution by finding effective ways to manage biowaste. I'd like to now request for the video to be presented.
Me and you, we do this every day, taking our trash out. That's where we think the journey ends.
So what do we have here? Roughly half of this comes from the kitchen. Harmless? It's just a trash bag.
This is what one trash bag does.
Every year, 300,000 tons of waste are being dumped over here. Globally, the number is 2.4 billion tons of waste every year. So what does it mean to our Mother Earth? If we collect all the waste and dump it into truck, the chain of the trucks would encircle the whole world 24 times.
When bio-waste is mixed together with all the other kinds of waste, a toxic anaerobic process starts. They produce two of the most dangerous greenhouse gases, methane and carbon dioxide.
Let's change this! Our solution can be found here, in this in-betweens of the urban environment. We have invented a model of a tiny urban garden, which will turn the biowaste of this neighborhood into fertile soil. And guess what? It's led by children.
They are the pioneers, and they're the ones who will start this chain reaction for future generations. Children are also very curious naturally. They have the time and they have the enthusiasm to actually take care of their environment. Together with teachers, we will host fun and practical workshops where the children will be equipped with the skills of taking care of the garden.
We all have our personal connection to this problem. I come from one of the most polluted countries in the world, Bangladesh. Every year, more than 100,000 people loses their battle of life against air pollution.
When I was in Thailand, my school would give daily updates on PM particles. And some days, the officials would even close the schools because of the air pollution. Air pollution will most likely be the leading cause of death globally by 2050. We can't let this happen.
Every school, every neighborhood, and every city can have their own urban garden.
Join the movement!
Fabulous. Let us now welcome the team from UWC Dilijan.
You heard that right. By 2050, the air pollution is said to become the leading cause of premature deaths. So this is therefore the major issue of our generation. We have created a solution that combines three already proven elements to a new Kombili model that can be implemented in any city in the world.
The first element is composting technology. These tumblers are the most effective way with which we can turn our home biowaste into fertile soil, and this process only takes 1 to 2 months.
The state of Finland gave us the seed money to build our very first own Kombili tumbler, and we built it for only 1/10 of the price of commercial tumblers, which means the tumblers can be replicated anywhere in the world, be it here in Armenia or back in my hometown in Bangladesh.
Next up, the second element is the eco-education. It's like a superhero academy, but instead of fighting villains, we're fighting waste. We tested our educational model with over 20 children and families in the capital city in Armenia, Yerevan, and we went around local children's houses and collected their waste, and the children sorted through and we recycled it. We discovered that over half of their waste could be recycled. We learned by collaborating with schools, our 7-lesson training program will have the power to motivate and encourage a mindset change in communities.
The third element is the urban community garden. Based on our survey, we know people are welcoming to the children-led process, but we also saw that they need a physical proof to change their habits. We're happy that we got a piece of land from the city of Yerevan, where we can build the first Kombili garden, which will be our physical proof.
With the Young Aurora Prize, we will be able to create an amazing minimum viable product. First, we will get our educational model certified by an international board of educators. Second, within the next 12 months, we will build the fully functional model Kombili garden. And third, we will set up an online platform that will enable the replication of the Kombili model. In addition to this, we will establish a nonprofit that can sustain this process. Dear Young Aurora jury, we need your help to turn this dream into a reality. People are struggling with not having ways to deal with their bio-waste, and all cities right now are looking for innovative solutions. We believe that Kombili can be the next big thing.
Join the movement!
Thank you so much, UWC Dilijan team. I'd like to commend you especially for having launched a prototype and having secured some support already for the work that you're doing, and importantly for putting children at the center of your project. Congratulations and well done. Let me now invite the jury for 1 or 2 questions. We'll take the questions together and we'll come back to the team to respond to the questions as a whole. So members of the jury, are there any questions you would like to ask? Prince, I see your hand, and I'll take Diego second, and then I'll take Mirza next. Prince, go first. Make it quick.
Thank you so much, Fred, and I'm really impressed by the committee project. Really impressive. So my question would be, how is the team going to ensure that the project is going to be sustainable, because they are all at UWC and then they're going to leave? So how are they going to ensure that the project is going to still continue running despite their absence?
Thank you, Prince. How to sustain sustainability post-graduation. Thank you very much. Diego.
Let me just start saying that this is fantastic. I am immensely impressed. So 2 quick questions. The first one would be, your work is contingent on successfully engaging with local authorities. So for instance, you secured a piece of land where you can do this in a particular community. How lengthy, how complicated, how much paperwork does that process require? And maybe connected to this, you said that you're going to set up a non-profit organization. Why? Why, in the interest of sustainability, why not strive to, to turn this into a social venture that strives on its own revenue rather than counting on revenue from other sources? Over.
Thank you very much, Diego. We'll come to Mirza.
Thank you very much. I liked also the project very much. Then 2 questions came in my mind. First of all, the hygiene, how we can secure the hygiene for the children, because the children are going to work in this project. And the second one, this composing machine, how much it costs at all? Is it possibility, for example, in those rural area where they have problems with electricities and these things, is it possible to do that too or not? Thanks.
Very good. We got a good number of questions. I'll invite the team to answer as much as you can in about a minute or 2. So over to you.
Yeah.
And Esther, I see your hand. I'll come to you afterwards if you can get some responses from the team.
Raphael, squeeze in. You're not on. Sure.
Yeah. So firstly, about sustainability. One of the key elements, actually the backbones in this project, is the education and the fact that we're working with a network of schools. So there are a few schools in Yerevan who we'll be working with, and we'll be working together with teachers so that these teachers can make this Kombili program into their own, and they can implement it to with their students, so that it's not dependent on us, but we're kind of there with the teachers doing it collaboratively together. Another thing is that because we're doing it with the city will be able to sustain this to some extent and to increase this community participation. Then we have, so there's another thing about financial sustainability of the project. We attached the financial sustainability plan to the proposal that we sent a few months ago. So in that plan, you can see that we have a detailed explanation that our input, which is the waste, will be $0, but the output, which we can monetize. For example, that can be the vegetables, the fruits, the fertile soil, which we produce from the waste. And with the income, we will use that to sustain the garden. So we'll make it self-sustained. Then we also have this online platform, which will enable us to share our best practices and our tutorials, which will also increase sustainability in a way that if other cities want to implement Kombili, they will have this materials online that they can refer to, that they can use in their own Kombili. And on our school part, we're doing this as a cast. So currently we have 16 members, an awesome group of people in a cast, all who have different abilities and talents. And we are going to keep sustaining that
that CAS group as like the core of this project will be passed on and partnering with these different partners we have.
So then the next question was about land in cities, and especially now more than ever, cities are looking at more ways to become green and environmentally sustainable. And there's a lot of things about that governments will hop onto, like in sustainable planning, where they need areas like this to help the environment. So when we spoke to the city of Yerevan, they were actually really keen about the idea. And when we were looking for different bits of land to actually put the first model garden, that we can show the world that our Kambili model will work.
And the last question, which was about the financial thing and if we will be able to have electricity or not. So the first of all, like as I mentioned before, we have built it for only 1/10 of the actual price of the commercial tumblers. So we have managed to fit our budget within only $60 to build a whole tumbler. And also for this tumbler mechanism, we don't need electricity. So yeah, it is very much sustainable in that from that position. Thank you.
So we actually, we realized that this tumbler is a big possibility in Armenia, especially because the materials we were using, for example, this barrel, they were very easily accessible and they were actually recycled materials that we could use from our environment. So that kind of also makes this building the tumblers very easy and sustainable, and also gives us space to experiment with that a little bit. For example, now in our school workshop, we're experimenting to make it into a even more creative tumbler model. For example, a cow or a dog, or like play with the shape more to make it even more engaging.
And another thing to add is that like we want it to be replicated around the world. So if it's in a warm environment, we'll have it without the insulated barrel. But if it's in a cold environment, we can still have the composting going on, but instead of we have a different like a design, we'll have an insulated barrel instead.
Yeah, so basically echoing what Satoe said, Kambili is just so much more than a school project, and it can be replicated anywhere. It's a model by bringing the three key elements together: education, the tumbler, and the community garden is what the most important thing is when these three elements are brought together, and we can make real change tackling this problem, because you can put composters and tumblers everywhere, but no one will use them unless they're educated how to. And that's why it's so important that we educate people first on why it's so important.
Very well, thank you so much. Let's get a quick one from Ernesto before we thank you and release you. Ernesto.
Thank you, and first, congratulations to the Dilijan team for this great project. You start by posing the big picture problem, which is the management of waste, of garbage everywhere, and how bad we are doing, in general, in most countries. And then you land into a specific solution for part of that problem, which probably is the least damaging, which is organic waste. And my question is whether when you interact first with children, as you are doing, and that's absolutely astute and great, but also with authorities and community leaders, whether you are keeping your insistence on the big picture problem. I think if you, as you are, you are successful in producing a concrete idea, and that can produce concrete results in communities, I think you should leverage that to vis-a-vis authorities to say, okay, this is part of the solution, but it's not the solution. So you have to be accountable as authority vis-a-vis your communities to do something about the rest of the problem, which is the biggest part of the problem. And again, also with your main agents, in this case, children, I think you should leverage what you are doing to show, okay, this can be addressed, the big problem can be addressed. This is just an example of how it can be done, but always keep in mind and be an activist in engaging for solving the rest of the problem. I make this observation because I think you start very, very right with the big picture, but then you narrow it down to part of the problem, which is very important, very exemplary, but I think you should keep the big picture in mind in all your activities.
Thank you, Ernesto. Quick 30-second response from the team.
So thank you for bringing that up. And actually, we think it's something so important, talking about the wider issue. And the reason our project is focused on biowaste is because it's kind of the unknown about how much of it actually goes to landfill, because over half of household waste is biowaste. And if you have a massive problem, it's quite hard to pose a solution that will just tackle all of it. And what we did when we did this trash patrol with the kids in Yerevan, we didn't just talk about bio-waste, but we also sorted out the plastic, the paper, and also the tins and the glass, and recycled that with them too. And this is something that the education model can spread more onto. But the problem is, especially in Armenia, in Yerevan, nothing gets recycled at all, and it all goes to landfill. And education is so important because there are a couple NGOs in Yerevan that do recycle, but people don't know the importance of recycling at all from grassroots level. So that's why people aren't doing it. So it's important that we educate on the wider, the wider problem of recycling. But then Kombili provides this area for gardening and bio-waste where children can turn their household bio-waste into soil and actually feel an inside reward of being able to grow stuff and see people come together.
Thank you so much, team, for your hard work and for taking a first stab at what is inevitably a huge, huge challenge. And I'd also like to commend you for your really fabulous branded t-shirts. I can see you've put a lot of effort into this, so thank you so much, and look forward to the next stage. We're going to move very quickly to our second team. Our presentation now is from UWC East Africa, and the Coral Regeneration Project aims to preserve and rebuild the coral reef and marine life at Fish Eagle Point near Tanga on the Tanzanian coast. Let's now watch their video.
This is how the reef at Fish Eagle Point looks like. Fish Eagle Point is a place north of Tanga. It's at the Tanzanian coast. Part of this is filled with beautiful coral, colorful fish, and other interesting marine life. However, a large part has sadly been destroyed due to detrimental fishing techniques such as dynamite fishing. Dynamite fishing has had the most destructive impact on the reef at Fish Eagle Point. Fishermen drop dynamite into the ocean, killing anything in the vicinity of 5 meters. Craters of dead corals are left behind. After diving there in 2019, a group of students decided to take action. Wanting to regenerate the coral, they started by building coral nursery tables and setting these in the oceans at around 4-meter depth. This idea has now turned into the Coral Regeneration Project, which has been running for 3 years now, operating on both Moshi and Arusha campus, with a total of over 40 students involved. We aim to restore and conserve coral and marine life at Fish Eagle Point. At school, we meet for 1 hour each week to research, plan, design, and build structures which we will place into the ocean during reef's outdoor pursuit trips, which are organized by our school. Over 100 students get involved on a total of 7 trips per school year. After obtaining the PADI Open Water Diver Certificate on one of the trips, we mostly do service dives. On the service dives, we plant corals onto the nurseries, clean the coral nurseries, submerge coral domes into the sea, and transplant mature coral onto these domes and other structures. Small bits of coral are broken off the baby corals on the nurseries and planted as new ones, as coral grows up to 40 times faster when it's in a broken fragment. Meanwhile, we create an artificial reef by placing concrete domes at around 14-meter depth. These domes weigh between 300 kgs and 800 kgs depending on their size. They provide a safe shelter for marine life, and over time we plant coral onto them, which will eventually grow around the entire dome. The same species of coral is planted onto one dome, and when fragments meet, they recognize their own DNA and merge and grow as one. We currently have submerged over 30 domes at 3 different spots in the ocean, and have 22 more sitting at the beach waiting to be moved out on the next trips. Another structure we built was an A-frame. We submerged this in the ocean during the level 5 trip. We've started planting corals onto it, hoping to create a coral dive-through cave in the future. Our main challenge is currently that the coral nursery tables are not working out too well. We're currently building new nursery structures and hope to install these in March and May 2023. Over time, we will expand the nursery so that we can farm more coral at the same time. In September this year, 2 of the student leaders went to visit a university short course on Maziwa Island, a protected island few hours south of Fish Eagle Point. Coral conservation has been going on there for over a decade, and the progress they have made is astonishing. We're hopeful that when we come to visit Fish Eagle Point in 10 years or so, or any time past their graduation, the coral reef at Fish Eagle Point will look a lot more similar to the one on Maziwa Island. We are confident that this project will continue beyond our graduation and make a significant difference over the next few years.
Fabulous. Let's now welcome the team from UWC East Africa.
Hello, everyone. We are the Coral Reef Regeneration Project. The humanitarian concern addressed in our project includes the effect of detrimental fishing techniques and ocean acidification due to climate change on coral reefs, specifically at the Tanzanian coast in Tanga, as shown in the picture. The project involves approximately 100 students on 7 annual trips to the Tanzanian coast. We interact with the Fish Eagle Point Resort and the local community in Tanga to find solutions for the betterment of the reef, which accounts for approximately a 4 times larger carbon sink than the Amazon rainforest.
As already mentioned in the video, this project involves our first-hand action at the coast. Within 3 days per trip and 7 trips per year, we do beach cleanups, multiple service dives to plant coral, and submerge and clean our artificial reef domes in the ocean. Whilst these trips are a lot of fun for us, they are also very labor-intensive, and all students are working in the ocean from sunrise to sunset. The Young Aurora Prize would not only allow us to purchase better quality building material for our structures such as nurseries, but also enable us to have more frequent trips to the coast so we can plant even more coral.
By providing habitats for marine life, we believe we have created a more diverse ecosystem, and this has been beneficial to the local fishing community as well as for tourism at Fish Eagle Point. The short-term impact of our work is starting to show its success by what we see underwater. From our lionfish in the coral carp to crayfish in our coral archway, we expect to see a significant increase in the ocean population of marine organisms in the long and short run.
The challenges faced during this project are maintaining the coral nurseries, having a large sea urchin abundance in the ocean, limited time and limited resources, a lack of funding and scientific evidence, and the struggle to integrate our local community into the project. However, with the Young Aurora Prize, we'll be able to purchase materials, scientific equipment such as tangents, transects, and quadrants, further integrate the local community into the project, and start an education program for the surrounding communities and schools within the area. We will be able to elevate this project to an entirely different level. Without the Young Aurora Prize, we will continue our current fundraising strategies to purchase scientific equipment and employ a local community member to maintain the submerged coral nurseries when we are not there. Every year, a new batch of more eager students come, aiding in the greater goal of this project. We are convinced that with the Young Aurora Prize, our project will become even more effective. Thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations on all your work so far. And I'd like to confirm that you are definitely all better swimmers than I am. And it's good to see you putting in all that work below the ocean. Let's come quickly to our judges and see if we can get very few short questions. I'll challenge our judges to be very brief with their questions so we can get comprehensive responses from our students. So judges, I'm looking for your hands on my screen. I see Diego and I see Ernesto and I see Prince in that order. So Diego, over to you.
Thank you so much, and well done, you guys. And another fantastic initiative. So my question is, what comes after the Aurora Prize? And how, beyond the project itself and beyond getting somebody from the local community to actively engage with the project, how does the project transition into a lifestyle?
Very good. Thank you so much, Diego. Ernesto?
Yes, again, amazing, really amazing that you have put together this project, which I think is absolutely key for many purposes. My question is the following. What is the evidence that you have that the concrete approach that you are following to restore the corals, the reef, is going to work? I have seen a number of projects because of the Mexican Caribbean where we are having devastating consequences from many phenomena like global warming, invasive species, and so on. And I know that some things people do work, but other things that people try to do to achieve the same that you are pursuing simply haven't worked, or they are not practical in the sense that they are not sustainable, because they demand a very strong effort over time to do it, and also to see the results. So in your case, what led you to do this specific approach?
Very helpful. Thank you so much. What's the evidence base for this direction? And let's go quickly to Prince.
Thank you so much. Again, another impressive initiative by young people. So my question would be, sound like the project is going to depend on the acceptability of the project by the fishermen because of the challenge of illegal fishing practices. And you mentioned that you're going to try to tackle that problem by trying to educate the local fishermen. So now, in case where the education does not work, the fishermen continue being so reluctant to accept your project being implemented in their fishing area. What are some sort of backup plans that you have to still make the project sustainable and also successful without solely and completely depending on how the fishermen are going to accept the project? Thank you.
Very good questions. Over to the team now to give the best responses you can.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. So the first one was from Diego about what comes after the Aurora Prize. So as we mentioned in our presentation, we're collaborating with the resort at Fish Eagle Point and the local community there. And whilst we only go there on our school trips to do the projects, the resort is there permanently. And we're currently working with the resort to try create a program where gap year students can come in internationally and work on this project for like 3 months straight and continuously. The thing is that Fish Eagle Point is quite a remote area and therefore it's not very well known. But together with some other international sponsors, we're trying to elevate it to a kind of ecotourism place. So it's more attractive to other scuba divers from around the world, and they can join and help us with this project.
So I think it's also important to add on the tourism aspect of this whole project, because we're having such a close connection with this resort. Our eventual goal would be able to make these surface dives accessible for tourists that visit Fish Eagle Point, which Benny just said will be done through social media marketing and all of that in that kind of area. So through this, the project will not only be kept within our school, but it will be brought into the local community and the resort itself, and eventually become what the hotel is known for.
So to answer the second question of why we chose to do this specific approach, essentially, the teacher who started this with 3 students in 2019, he discovered that using coral domes allowed corals to grow quickly. He submerged one coral dome. When he came back a few months later, he discovered the coral to have grown exponentially. And the coral tables are what we use as well, as they have been proven to be effective in places such as the Maldives and the Seychelles to allow corals to grow up to 15 centimeters a year. So that is why we continue to use this and now further implement new ways of planting coral that have been proven to be effective all over the world.
Additionally, these methods come from places close to us. There is a coral reef regeneration project in Zanzibar called Marine Cultures. We use the exact same approach as we do with the coral domes and the table nurseries. And just a few kilometers north of Tanga, actually, it's in Kenya. They have a project where they also use the coral domes and it's been very effective for them. So that's where we got the ideas from, basically.
Excellent.
To answer the third question about the fishing techniques and the education for the fishermen, I think what we realized is me and Amy, we traveled to Maziwa Island, as shown in the video, and I actually interviewed the marine biologist, which has been there for over 20 years. And what he told me is that to show the benefits of protecting certain marine environments or making protected zones is what we would do if the education was not enough. So what happens is when you protect these zones, the amount of fish, the yield of fish for the fishermen increases significantly. And as seen at Maziwa Island, once this area was protected for about 3 months, the yield of fish increased so significantly. They became more heavy, so more yield in weight, but also the amounts increased a lot. Due to this, the fishermen realized the benefits and actually experienced what the good that came out of these protected environments. So I think that's one thing that we would definitely lean towards to do.
And a practical example of this, we recently had a report from the owner of Fish Eagle Point. They implemented this no fish zone for the octopi in the area. And after 3 months of this no fish zone, the fishermen who were catching octopi weighing approximately 3 kilograms now we're catching octopi weighing up to 8. So the techniques of this no fish zone and educating the community in that way is proving to work.
Thank you very much for the questions.
Fabulous, team. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for walking at the intersection of science and social change and what our communities need. This is absolutely brilliant, and I'm pleased to hear that you are committing yourselves to do this even beyond your time and inspiring others as well to come on the same journey. So thank you very much for your great work. We're going to move quickly to the third and final presentation. This comes from UWC Southeast Asia in Singapore, specifically the East Campus. The project is called the BEAN Project and aims to tackle the problem of food waste in Singapore through the use of data analytics and behavioral economics. By installing cameras on food waste bins, the project will track and classify consumer plate waste using AI object recognition. Let us now watch their video.
Picture the stuff that's hurting our planet. What do you think of?
Cars, factories, deforestation. These are all very important issues, but rarely do we consider the amount of food we waste every day.
Here in Singapore, which imports over 90% of its food, it takes an incredible amount of resources to obtain what we eat, from land and water to energy and labor. Especially amidst the global supply chain crisis we face, waste makes food scarcer and more expensive, exacerbating inequality.
We're wrecking the planet to make food that no one actually eats.
We want to change this. No one actually enjoys wasting food. This is why we plan to use data analysis and behavioral economics to reduce waste.
In each location, such as our school's canteen, we will set up a smart camera that captures and automatically classifies plate waste.
With the data, we can make inferences about trends and patterns in the wastage. For example, noodles are wasted the most every Monday lunchtime. Based off these deductions, we collect qualitative data from surveys and questionnaires to understand the root causes behind wastage behavior.
Sometimes the portions are too big and too small. So when they're too big, you have food waste, but when they're too small, you get seconds and then you have more food that you can't eat.
Then, we will work closely with the food suppliers in order to implement changes that tackle these causes, based on suggestions from economists and experts in the industry. For example, adjusting recipes and lowering plate sizes.
You have a tray that's 14 by 18 inches and you feel you need to load it up with food.
We can change the menu. Definitely it will reduce, because I know if you are initiating something in this school, they really follow.
Then, we will stack these changes to create meaningful cumulative effects. After a pilot in our canteen, we will expand across all schools and hawkers in Singapore and Southeast Asia.
To bring other cafeterias on board, we will showcase how our system reduces food waste, predicts consumer demand, and reveals consumer preferences with impact reports.
At each location, we will involve local students in the process to create communities of food waste experts who will 1. Work with local stakeholders, 2. Find insightful analysis, and 3. Serve as centers of awareness.
By partnering with students on issues and then engaging with other schools, we expect to have established 30 such branches of the BIN network within 1 year.
In one part of the world, people struggle for meals, whereas in the other, food is wasted by the tons. We wanted to solve for this humanitarian issue through our social entrepreneurship, which is why we started Project BIN.
We're the BIN Project. Thank you.
Fabulous work. Let's now welcome the team from UWC Southeast Asia East Campus.
Hi everyone.
We're the Bin Project, and our goal is to minimize food waste at its source. Each year, our school donates 80 boxes of food to service partners, but it's an injustice that each day we throw away over 100 kilograms of meals, most of which, unfortunately, cannot be composted or recycled. Food waste harms everyone, from vendors who have to bear its economic burden to consumers who face increased inequality. So then why is it still so pervasive?
We believe that there are 3 causes for food waste in schools. Firstly, canteens don't provide choices that match consumers' preferences, for example, in terms of portion sizes. Additionally, students may unconsciously purchase more food than necessary due to cultural norms of over-catering in the region. Lastly, waste disposal processes are secluded in Singapore. Most students don't know the hidden costs of their waste footprint.
To tackle these root causes, our mission is to minimize food waste in Singapore and Southeast Asia by leveraging data and student advocacy. How will we achieve this? Our solution is this 5-stage cycle, which uses the classification of food waste to inform changes.
Firstly, through cameras installed on top of food waste bins, we classify and document each plate of waste with AI object recognition, from sandwiches to salad. With this data, we can then identify and analyze patterns of wastage in the canteen. For example, at UWC SCA, analysis revealed that vegetable noodles are wasted more than any other dish. Thirdly, we conduct qualitative research that uncovers the true reasons behind these patterns. For instance, we interviewed students on their feelings about the noodles, revealing that the excessive oiliness and large portion sizes are what led to the wastage.
Then, we communicate all findings to stakeholders. We provide detailed reports to food vendors, and we also partner with student awareness groups to develop actionable and locally relevant campaigns.
Finally, we work with the vendor to implement changes, such as adjusting menus and portion sizes based on data to better fit consumer demand, therefore reducing wastage.
Overall, our 5-stage system strikes at the underlying causes we found earlier. We help food vendors match consumer preferences, establish considerate cultures, and heighten student awareness.
Our system is easy to copy and scale up. We plan to replicate our work across other schools in Singapore and eventually all over Southeast Asia. To do so, we train local students to become grassroots bin teams in their respective schools using handbooks and easy-to-use tech.
With Young Aurora's financial support and expert feedback, we can accelerate this process. Without Aurora, although it will be challenging, we could switch to lower-cost hardware as well as request funding from food vendors and government agencies like Singapore's NEA.
Data and artificial intelligence have become massive parts of our lives. Our aim is to collaborate with students, vendors, and governments to apply this emerging technology. Together, we stop food waste. This is Project Bin. Thank you.
Congratulations, team, and thank you for all the hard work that you have done so far. Inevitably, this is a major challenge everywhere, especially at schools. Let's now welcome our judges to have share any questions that they might have. I'll be looking for hands at the top of my screen. I see Anna's hand, I see Prince's hand, and I'll stall and see if we've got any other hands. In the absence, let's go quickly with Anna and then Prince in that order.
This is very innovative. Let me just ask you, do you think you could get this information in any other way than using the cameras?
Good question, Anna. Thank you very much. Prince, your question?
Thank you so much, Fred. And I may also comment the project so innovative. I'm a fan of artificial intelligence, so I'm really impressed by the project. So just a quick question. You said that you want to gather data using cameras, but also it seems like you already have an idea, a very concrete idea of the causes of food waste in your school. So then I'm asking myself, why do we need again that data if we know the cause already? Why don't you just go and try to tackle those causes that we know instead of spending again a lot of funds on having artificial intelligence security cameras?
Fabulous questions. Let's go quickly to our team to respond as best as they can.
Thank you very much, judges, for our questions. So the first question was, can we get this information through any other way without cameras, potentially? We actually stood there in the canteen next to the bins to monitor the food waste ourselves for quite a few lunchtimes. This worked out very well, but we realized that in order to be sustainable, in order to gather the amount of data we want to gather, we have to resort to technology. And this technology is proven. We have done the research. We have a prototype that is running and is very feasible. It's very accessible and is capturing the data perfectly.
And on the scale which we're looking at, which is over time, over many months, which is the scale which we want to record the data on, we thought this would be the most feasible and sustainable option. For the second question, you mentioned that we already kind of know the causes. The first point I would say to that is we know the causes in our school or in our region, but that may be different in many other schools and many other regions. So this is why we really wanted to back those causes up with data. And secondly, you may have noticed that one of the causes was actually that consumers and producers, there's a mismatch between what's produced and what is consumed. And in order to know what people want to eat or what people want to consume, we need to know what is being wasted. So in order to actually tackle those causes, we need to ask ourselves the very basic question is what exactly is being wasted?
Yeah, as our cycle runs, our 5-day cycle, we plan to run it many times. It's a continuous cycle that will go on. Always, we collect data and we use that data to inform our changes.
Additionally, though data may be relevant and we may understand the root causes at this moment in time, food wastage and trends in food wastage evolve over time, much with the culture of upcoming generations and newer ideologies of future students. So it's important to always have a statistical backing and a data warehouse where we can track these changes over time to inform our actionable plans that we will generate, as including future generations.
So the three reasons why we identified are purely qualitative, but now what our project does is it gives us the quantitative data. So what is being wasted and in what quantity? And then using this data, we solve the problem of food waste.
Well, thank you very much to our team. And I'd like to thank you once again for taking on what is inevitably a huge challenge. I have worked in international schools. I know how much food goes into the bin. So it's good that you want to tackle this at a local level and inspire others to act differently as well. So thank you very much. And I'd like to wish our jury members all the best as they go off to deliberate in private and to decide on the winner. With such a high caliber of projects, I'm sure that you've got your work cut out for you. I do not wish to be one of your judges right now. So all the best as you take the best efforts you can to come back with some results. And as our judges excuse themselves quickly to go to some deliberation, we've got the chance to engage in a broader conversation in the second part of today's program. And that'll be a panelist discussion with some fabulous, fascinating speakers about the role of education in promoting peace. It's a very big topic for a short time, but with your help and with your participation, I'm sure that we're going to make this a powerful and meaningful exchange. Of course, many of you know that the idea for Young Aurora itself is to be inspired by other people who have been Aurora laureates themselves, people who have gone further ahead of them. So this is a nice chance for intergenerational dialogue about how we inspire younger generations to continue to invest in the future. I'd like to introduce three of our speakers for this period. First of all, I'm going to introduce Syeda Ghulam Fatima, who's an Aurora Prize expert panel member and Secretary General of Bonded Labor Liberation Front in Pakistan. And Syeda, it's a pleasure to have you today. I know that your work has been absolutely important in helping to eradicate bonded labor and injustice and illiteracy, inequality and poverty across South Asia. So I'm glad that we can bring your voice into the conversation today. So thank you very much for joining us. I'd also introduce Sibulele Sibaka, who's founder of Impact Drivers, and she's been working in advocacy and partnerships and communications, and huge experience as well in sexual health and reproductive rights for children. Sibulele, it's a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm sure that you're going to bring a ton of great perspectives to the conversation. And Karen Liu, who's one of us, alum of UWC Southeast Asia, and a member, current student at University of Chicago. It's a pleasure to have you here today as well. So thank you, all three of you, for joining the conversation. We're going to discuss the role of education in promoting peace. And perhaps I'll start with you, Syeda. from the work that you have done, how do you see the connection between education and, preventing conflict and promoting social cohesion in society? What really is the role that education itself can play in making these ideals tangible? Let's get you to unmute your microphone, and then we can hear your contribution. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to appreciate the very hard work by the three teams and fantastic whatever they have done. It is really uncondemnable. It is really very appreciated. As concerned the education, how education play a role to bring the people together and peace and harmony. Regarding my work, we believe that struggle against slavery through education. So if we provide education, then we can eliminate the slavery, bonded labor, discrimination, and inequality. And when we see that if we will address the inequality, unequal distribution of the resources, then we can bring peace among the society. So education, without education, it's not possible. Education is a very effective tool for the peace and harmony in the society among the different people from different culture. Like the education teach us that how we can bear to each another, how we can have a good friendship, how we can understand each another, the people, the students, the people from different walk of life, from different region, from different religion, and from different ethnics. They color and creed. They become together, they sit together, and then they understand that how they have to live together.
Thank you so much.
I believe that education is more and more important for peace in the region and to stop the conflicts with the very decent way. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much for that, Seda. I'm sure that we'll dive a little bit deeper into some specifics of your work and the ideas that you've actually seen work in practice. Let me come to you, Sibulele. Of course, your work is all about educating people, right? So what are some of the most successful approaches that you have seen tangibly yield results, again, through education, making a difference in society?
Thank you so much for this. And I'm super excited to be chatting on here today. I must just make you all aware that my internet could go off at any minute. And I'm hoping that maybe one of the teams next year could help us come up with ways of making sure there are no electricity outages. And how do we work around that if we do find ourselves in that situation? But I love this topic because it really speaks to, you know, not only the life that I've had, but the life of the adolescent girls and young women that I've worked with in our impact driver life, as I'd like to put it. And a lot of it for me is that education brings about confidence, it brings about problem solving, and it brings about communication. All skills that have to do in ways of building and creating and maintaining peace. in an African context, living in South Africa, we live in an environment that is still extremely led and guided by the ways that we live here in Africa. And that is really around how patriarchal society, right? A patriarchal society that really does not lend or give a voice to adolescent girls and young women to be who they want to be. And through education, we are able to build confidence amongst girls and young women in particular, and adolescent boys and young men as well. We're able to build communication skills to be able to express what you're feeling and thinking in a respectful manner, and really problem solve situations around our communities in a way that we both benefit. And so we know the benefits of education in peace building activities. We know that once people come and sit around the table and express who they are, what they're thinking, how they're feeling, and most importantly, how to solve those issues, everybody is happy.
Sibulele, I know what you're talking about being in South Africa. Of course, I lived 9 years in South Africa and I have full sympathy for load shedding. You and I, we are on the same plate, but of course, let's hope that we can inspire the next generation to help us find the right solutions and deal with this debilitating challenges. Let me come to you quickly, Karen. You have had a UWC experience. You're now out in university. How has this kind of education you've experienced, how has it inspired you to think about yourself as a change maker, as someone who can continue to advocate for peace and sustainability in the world? What changed in you as you experienced the UWC education?
Yeah, for sure. So for me personally, I think I benefited a lot from like this integration of academic instruction with more practical problem-solving elements, both in high school as well as currently at UChicago. Throughout the IB curriculum, we have a lot of components of inquiry-based learning or project-based learning that are part of like our educational philosophy for a long time, and we'll be able to sort of like see how the theories we learn in class being applied into either the industries or like just the policy actions, and then think about potential problems that we could address both from like a college student and then high school student perspective. And I think there's like one particular example in high school. I learned a lot about Israeli and Palestinian conflict through the Global Perspectives class. I remember watching this film called Disturbing the Peace, where the people across Israel and the Palestine were like born into the conflict, but they served in the different sides of the armies, but they ultimately decided to sort of challenge their fate by standing together. So I think this sort of like film just strikes me as to learn more about the historical, political, and religious roots of this conflict and explore more in depth from like the inside. So I decided to apply to the civilization study program that UChicago offers, and I'm going to sort of study abroad in Israel next spring, hopefully to learn more and immerse in this environment and hope to like formulate a more well-rounded understanding of the conflict. So I think this sort of experience just reminds us like you could take advantage of all the resources that institutions offer and try to explore the world from a multitude of perspective, which will help us sort of become a global citizen down the road. Yeah.
That's exciting. What are you studying, Karen?
I'm currently a computer science major, as well as learning economics on the side.
So you found a way to kind of connect your academic program towards something, tangible in society, or is this a complete departure from the way you think about your academic endeavors?
So I think in terms of the theories I learned in class, for example, the economic models, like we try to model a lot of the problems under budget constraints and optimize the solutions for sort of like the resource allocation process. I think those the line of thinking were really helpful in terms of understanding the real world problems and try to associate potential policy changes. And on the side, we also have a lot of research opportunities by volunteering for the professors or like joining labs and to see like how the theories we learn in class to unfold in the more application setting. And in terms of the data science department in Chicago, we also offer some data science clinics, which means you get to partner with sort of like the industry organizations or nonprofit organizations and try to extract insights from the real world data by using the data science tools that you gain in class. So I was actually pretty inspired by just now the SEA school program in terms of classification of food waste, because I could totally see that as part of like a quarter-long project that we work on here at UChicago. Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you for that. Let me come right back to Sieda. And Sieda, I wonder, how did your observation of what was happening in society locally where you were in Pakistan, how did that inspire you to want to take on the kind of project that you have taken on? And what do people miss that you observed? What do other people not see that you were able to see? Let's get you to unmute again, please, Sieda.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Your question about
Yes.
in context of Pakistan.
Yes.
I want to hear from you the question.
Yes. Great. So the question is, you were able to identify and observe challenges locally within Pakistan. You can see the problems of bonded labor, etc., and inequality. How were you able to take action, in a way that other people were not taking action? What made your path different than other people around you?
Actually, I when I started to visit the bonded laborers with my father, because my father was trade unionist, and I myself was beaten by the oppressors, and they stopped me that I should not go there. And then the idea came into my mind that the people who are enslaved here, they are not able to even to tell their miseries. And I am from outside here, and they stopped me and they beaten me. So what is happening here with those people who are helpless? Then it's a kind of motivation came to my mind that I should definitely contribute for the humanity, because the age fellows, my age fellows at that time, girls and boys, were working in very pathetic and misery situation. And instead, I am going to school, and my other fellows, they have book and pen in their hands, and they are allowed to play, to take rest. But those children, they don't have all these facilities. They don't have access even. They are just bound to work all the day, all the night, and they cannot do anything. So then I decide that motivation, that if I am being beaten by these oppressors, these owners, these cruel persons, so these are very miserable, and they need my help, and I should work for them. And then I spend day and night with them, and I observe very closely their problem. And I also observe the slavery. It's a very dangerous, slavery is a very dangerous thing. I saw the eyes of the girls, the very young boys, that they are eager to get education. They want to get out from this, the rid of this slavery. And who is responsible? Why not we? We are responsible, because we are part of this society, and the buildings we are enjoying, where we are living, and we feel pleasure and shelter, those buildings are made by these workers, by their hands. The bricks mostly used in the construction work, and those workers, those children, they are making bricks, and they don't have any voice. They were totally, I feel that they are totally voiceless. So they need voice, and someone has to become voice for them, because children and the other people, they don't have the access to the education. The all institution, the buildings of the President House, Parliament House, institutions, educational institutions are constructed by the brick, and those bricks, they all children, they made with their hands, but they don't have right to go into these institutions to get education, and they are just enslaved, and worst condition, worst hazardous labor, hazardous work over there. That I feel at that time a slogan came into my mind, the struggle against slavery through education. And I started educational primary school at the Bricklands, and then I gathered the children, students, and I talked to them that if you will get education, you will be able to talk yourself for your rights. Nobody can come in and can talk about your rights. So you should have to become a lead mentor. You have to be a leader, and you can raise voice for your rights. So that is why I believe that education is very important for the peace and tolerance, and of course economic growth also very much linked with this. So if the people, they get education at right time, they can be a very good future of that society, that country, for the world, even for the world everywhere, where we face war, terrorism, and trafficking, and all odds we are facing at this stage. So education brings a very big change and bridge to us with each another.
Thank you so much, Sieda, for sharing your story, and again for channeling personal pain and grief into doing something more important for the world and for people who are voiceless. Now that you have this platform, Sieda, what is your message? What is your call for other people across the world who should be more aware about the situation on the ground where you've come from? How would you use your platform now to spread the word even more about the path you have chosen?
Because I am an activist, and I believe that together we can end forced labor, bonded labor, slavery. Hello, I don't. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Sieda. Please carry on.
You can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I will give the message that we should unite. We should give a struggle for the education to all. If we will provide education without to all, without any discrimination, if he is poor, or he has not, or he or she has not access to the equal distribution to equal resources, but the education must be for all of us. Everybody has right to education. Every children has right to play. Every children has right to take rest. So if our future, children are our future, if they will get education, if they will take rest, if they will play with toys, then they can build a very good society, very beautiful, very decent, with love and harmony.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for that.
Children has three rights. All children in the world, they should have three rights: play, education, and sleep.
Very good.
Only.
Very good.
No
Thank you so
more,
much, Siede.
no more work.
No more work.
No
Thank you so
child
much,
labor,
Siede,
no
for that.
body labor, no
Yes.
discrimination. We should
Yes.
say no to, we should refuse. We should refuse to child labor, bonded labor.
Thank you so much for your clear message. Final words going to come from Karen. And Karen, I just wonder, what are your aspirations for the next stage of your work, and what is it that you want other students like you who are currently very focused on academics and going through the educational experience, how should they think about how they can also advocate for peace and sustainability in the world?
Yeah, for sure. So I think especially some advice for high school students, it's probably important to think big, but start small. So when I was going through the Young Aurora process and also like came up with this idea of starting a focus group for like advocating for the domestic workers in Singapore, by the time my service advisor, Mr. Mihan, was actually not very impressed initially. So instead of encouraging us to move forward, he asked us some difficult questions, such as who are our potential partners, what are our action plans, and do we actually know about the labor laws in Singapore? So instead of like jumping into action, that actually prompted us to do a few months of research and spending the first few months just like conducting background reading as well as interviewing the domestic workers to truly understand their lived experiences. So this process actually inspired later on like our design of an empathy challenge card game where we would be able to simulate the conflicts that arise very typically in our conversations and engage employers to understand or like sort of like change perspectives about the labor conflicts that typically happen in the employment relationship. And ultimately, we were able to like gain some investments from our NGO partners to scale this educational materials toolkit in order to onboard the future employers of the domestic workers. I think this process just taught us like we need to appreciate this emphasis on analysis before advocacy, do your research and understand the problem, and also understand that you're a high school student, so there is just so much that you could do and recognize the limitations to it. And this sort of like will be able hopefully to create more tangible impacts in the direction that you would hope to see.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for your perspectives, Karen. And thank you, Siede, as well, for your ideas, for your advocacy, and for lending your voice towards what is inevitably a clear message for the world. We have white smoke. Our jury members are back in the hall, and I know that they have had some very good time to deliberate. So I'd like to thank our jury for joining us again and for bringing us great news. I'd like to hand over to Anna Afeyan to announce the winner of this year's Young Aurora Award and also to share some closing remarks. Over to you, Anna.
Yeah, so as the secretary of the jury, I have the honor to tell you the results of our deliberations. And it was very difficult. These projects are all of a very high quality. They are creative, they are innovative. You have worked hard to explain how they are solving the local problem in your community and how you will be able to share your solutions with the wider world. We had a close call between the projects, and I'll say that UWC East Asia, your use of AI, very impressive and innovative. UWC East Africa, the coral reefs are very important and the oceans are so important for our environment. And UWC Dilijan had done a lot of work with focus on sustainability and children advocacy and changing mindsets. So the winner of the 2023 Young Aurora Prize is UWC Dilijan.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, UWC Dilijan. That was a fabulous project, and you've got the right t-shirts to match. So you must be absolutely proud of your work, and all the best really for the next stage of implementing what is definitely a much needed project. And I hope you can continue to inspire other young people in Yerevan and across the world, wherever it is you find yourselves next, to take equal steps as you have been taking already. So congratulations for all your hard work. And I hope you can celebrate and then get right back to work, because the prize for winning this is actually implementing your solution. So celebrate and then deliver as you have done. Congratulations and well done. All right, that has been a very fabulous time spent together. Congratulations to the other two teams as well. I know that this is not the end of the road. This is just inspiration to continue developing your projects. The best thing about your presentations is that you've shared what you will continue to do even without getting the prize. And I think having built that already into your thoughts and into your project design, I'd like to continue to see how you build on this. And you have lots of supporters, you have lots of friends. The work that you're doing is so important, and the world needs to see coral regeneration. We need to see environmental waste being a thing of the past. And I'm really rooting for each of you. So congratulations. The time, the effort, the investment absolutely has not gone to waste. I'd like to thank the jury members as well for your time, for your expertise, for your wisdom. I know you have lots of advice to pass across as well. So please continue to inspire young people like this to commit themselves very early towards the ideals of making a difference wherever it is they find themselves. And to members of our panel as well, thank you for expanding your thoughts and for inspiring others to use their voices and use their platforms to make a difference in the world. And to everyone who has joined us online as well, here on Zoom and on Facebook and every other platform, thank you for joining us for this year's program. Let's continue to inspire young people everywhere to know that they can dream big, they can take action, and they can change the world. And I'd like to close with a very short quote from Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world, because that is the only thing that ever has changed the world." And on that note, it is my pleasure to bring this event to a close. Go ahead and celebrate, have a fabulous rest of the day, and continue to make a difference. Bye, everyone.